Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from the City of South Fulton, Georgia Fire and Rescue Department, President of the International Association of Firefighters, Local 3920, Fire Captain Andrea M. Hall, for the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What you are all about to be part of, America, is a historic moment of firsts. To administer the oath to our first African American, our first Asian American, and our first woman vice president, Kamala Harris, it is my great privilege to welcome to the inaugural stage the first Latina to ever serve on the Supreme Court of the United States of America, Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the oath of office, followed by musical honors.
Right, folks, just to give you a sense of what's happening, in case you're wondering what is going on, we are seeing here the preparations begin for Kamala Harris to be sworn in. Important to note, whilst this is happening, Donald Trump is, of course, in Florida, in Mar-a-Lago, where he's opted not to be part of this ceremony. So it's important to be aware that he's the first person in a long, long history to not be here, to really make the transition of power happen. Mike Pence, who's the vice president, you'll see for the next 4 minutes or so, he's behind there somewhere. He's chosen to come. He's political future. Who knows? But this is but let's not talk about Donald Trump. Let's focus all eyes on Kamala Harris, who will be in the next few minutes or seconds, even our next, I say hour, the next American vice president. We'll be back soon.
So help me God.
So help me God.
That's it, folks. There she is. The first Latin black vice president in the history of the United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Please welcome Jennifer Lopez to perform This Land Is Your Land and America the Beautiful, accompanied by members of the President's Own United States Marine Band.
Right, so important to know, we've now got performances. We're going to assume that you did not come here to listen to Jennifer Lopez sing. Afsha, what do you think?
I want her to sing Jenny from the Block. I wanted to get on that mic, and that's what I want.
I don't.
So it'd be like a moment of firsts for like everything, right? First female vice president, vice African American president, vice president. Sorry, first Asian American vice president. Like that'd be amazing. And then like Jayla does I'm still Jenny from the Block. That would be like, you know, she's made it now.
What's really interesting to me about America which is probably a difference between America and the UK, is that America just has a way to take, or has this habit of making moments that are meant to be constitutional, serious. They just always put a bit of Hollywood in it. They just can't help themselves, but can you imagine?
This is the American dream. This is the American dream. Lady Gaga, J-Lo, they've come from nothing and they have become people that are now at the inauguration of the president. Like, that is the American dream, Mike. Sorry.
Well, it's so different to the UK. In the UK, you have the Queen come to do the state opening of Parliament. Then you have the MPs walk from Westminster Abbey down to Black Rod. Black Rod comes and knocks on the door. You go into the House of Parliament. Like, imagine midway through that, Adele just comes in and she's like, "Hello from the." I mean, you'd go, "What?"
I mean, on the other side of number 10, I would definitely watch the inauguration.
So I just find it interesting. That's all. But yeah, I mean, so what does this moment mean for you, Afshan? As you watch this, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? We've got some great guests coming in. Guys, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know what you think as well. But Afshan, when you look at this, what are your thoughts? Okay, I think Afshan's frozen. But here, J-Lo is singing "America the Beautiful." Whilst we get Afshan back, let's listen to J-Lo. Why not? They've paid that. I'm sure they've. I think it's a free gig actually. Who knows? But can we have the volume up on J-Lo? And I'll shut up for a bit.
From sea to shining sea, una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Let's get loud. 'Cause this land was made for you and
Right. I don't quite remember. Afshan, I don't know if you were there, but I don't quite remember that middle part in America the Beautiful. Maybe it's just me. But whilst we get Afshan back, we've got Siobhan Starlin with us, who's one of our journalists. Siobhan recently wrote a piece actually thinking about Donald Trump and what his history is. Siobhan, what does this moment mean to you?
With that, it is now my distinct honor to introduce the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States.
We can't hear you, Siobhan. You're currently on mute.
To administer the presidential oath to the next president of the
Okay.
United States.
Whilst we get Siobhan back, we will go full screen again because I think we're about to hear Joe Biden actually get sworn in.
Come on.
Please stand for the oath of office, followed by musical honors.
This is the moment Joe Biden's been waiting for his whole political career, which spans more than 40 years. I mean, it is tremendous. Even if you loathe him or you think he's a terrible person, he's been on this journey now for such a long time. Talk about political stay in power. We're talking about a man who first started serving when he was 15 years old. Here he is, over 75, and he's finally going to be president.
Robinette Biden Jr. do solemnly swear.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. do solemnly swear
That I will faithfully execute.
that I will faithfully execute
The office of President of the United States.
the office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability,
Will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
And there you have it, folks. The Trump saga is officially over. And this man, Joseph Biden, has become the next president of the United States of America. Afshan, how do you feel?
I just want to know if Trump's watching. I just
Let's
want
go to the comment section.
to know.
Do you think he's watching?
I mean, my internet dropped twice, so I'm guessing like the whole world is watching. I'd be surprised if Trump is not watching, you know, from his secret Twitter account somewhere streaming this.
Well, let us know in the comments, folks. We can read your comments out. Do you think Trump's watching? What do you think of this whole moment? I mean, it's finally happened after lots of hearsay. Will he actually concede? No, will there be insurrection? Will that work? Will there be an attack even at the inauguration? All of those have moved. We've moved past all of those now, and now we've actually had the signing. I think we're going to listen now to Joe Biden. I think the next time I'll stop speaking is when we get Joe Biden up to give his speech. You'll remember 4 years ago, Donald Trump gave the most eerie speech where he spoke about American carnage and all these kind of weird things. It's rumored that Bush whispered to someone after Trump's speech that was some weird shit. So let's get some comments in because I see them flooding in. And also, Afshan, what do you make of all of this? I mean, are you happy, or is there a sigh of relief, or are you just kind of still skeptical?
I am happy we don't have Trump anymore, but I'm not ecstatic that Joe Biden is in. Because I'm not a massive fan of them, but I am really, really happy that there's no Trump. And both of those things can exist at the same time.
Well, we are obviously in the UK right now. Let's go straight to America, where we have Siobhan Starling. Siobhan, you're in America right now. How are you feeling? What's this moment mean for you? We keep losing Siobhan. It's a real shame. But whilst we wait for Siobhan to come back, the next thing that you'll see is Joe Biden giving his speech after Amy Klobuchar, who you'll remember also ran in the presidential primaries. When she steps down, the next voice you'll hear is Donald Trump. Sorry, not Donald Trump. His name is still on my mind. The next voice you'll hear, of course, is Joe Biden. Let's get some comments in. Someone says, Torrin Joshua says, all I know is that I'm glad Trump's legacy is over. Scared Biden will be much worse, though. That's a fair point.
We're true Trump supporter, Mike. True Trump supporter.
I didn't quite hear that, Asha. One more time. We seem to be having Wi-Fi issues. Well, it's time now for the moment he's been waiting for. All eyes, all ears on Joseph Biden as he gives his first speech as President of the United States.
Chief Justice Roberts, Vice President Harris, Speaker Pelosi, Leader Schumer, Leader McConnell, Vice President Pence, my distinguished guests, my fellow Americans. This is America's day. This is democracy's day, a day of history and hope, of renewal and resolve. Through a crucible for the ages, America has been tested anew, and America has risen to the challenge. Today, we celebrate the triumph not of a candidate, but of a cause, the cause of democracy. The people, the will of the people has been heard, and the will of the people has been heeded. We've learned again that democracy is precious. Democracy is fragile. And at this hour, my friends, democracy has prevailed. So now, on this hallowed ground where just a few days ago, violence sought to shake the Capitol's very foundation, we come together as one nation, under God, indivisible, to carry out the peaceful transfer of power as we have for more than 2 centuries. As we look ahead in our uniquely American way, restless, bold, optimistic, and set our sights on the nation we know we can be and we must be. I thank my predecessors of both parties for their presence here today. I thank them from the bottom of my heart. And I know the resilience of our Constitution and the strength of our nation, as does President Carter, who I spoke with last night, who cannot be with us today, but whom we salute for his lifetime in service. I've just taken the sacred oath each of those patriots have taken. The oath first sworn by George Washington. But the American story depends not on any one of us, not on some of us, but on all of us, on we the people who seek a more perfect union. This is a great nation. We are good people. And over the centuries, through storm and strife, in peace and in war, we've come so far, but we still have far to go. We'll press forward with speed and urgency, for we have much to do in this winter of peril and significant possibilities. Much to repair, much to restore, much to heal, much to build, and much to gain. Few people in our nation's history have been more challenged or found a time more challenging or difficult than the time we're in now. Once in a century virus that silently stalks the country. It's taken as many lives in 1 year as America lost in all of World War II. Millions of jobs have been lost. Hundreds of thousands of businesses closed. A cry for racial justice, some 400 years in the making, moves us. The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer. A cry for survival comes from the planet itself. A cry that can't be any more desperate or any more clear. And now, a rise of political extremism, white supremacy, domestic terrorism, that we must confront and we will defeat. To overcome these challenges, to restore the soul and secure the future of America, requires so much more than words. It requires the most elusive of all things in a democracy: unity. Unity. In another January, on New Year's Day in 1863, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. When he put pen to paper, the president said, and I quote, "If my name ever goes down into history, it'll be for this act, and my whole soul is in it." My whole soul is in it. Today, on this January day, my whole soul is in this, bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation. And I ask every American to join me in this cause. Uniting to fight the foes we face: anger, resentment and hatred, extremism, lawlessness, violence, disease, joblessness, and hopelessness. With unity, we can do great things, important things. We can right wrongs. We can put people to work in good jobs. We can teach our children in safe schools. We can overcome the deadly virus. We can reward work and rebuild the middle class and make healthcare secure for all. We can deliver racial justice, and we can make America once again the leading force for good in the world. I know speaking of unity can sound to some like a foolish fantasy these days. I know the forces that divide us are deep and they are real. But I also know they are not new. Our history has been a constant struggle between the American ideal that we're all are created equal and the harsh, ugly reality that racism, nativism, fear, demonization have long torn us apart. The battle is perennial, and victory is never assured. Through Civil War, the Great Depression, World War, 9/11, through struggle, sacrifice, and setbacks, our better angels have always prevailed. In each of these moments, enough of us have come together to carry all of us forward. And we can do that now. History, faith, and reason show the way of unity. We can see each other not as adversaries, but as neighbors. We can treat each other with dignity and respect. We can join forces, stop the shouting, and lower the temperature. For without unity, there is no peace, only bitterness and fury. No progress, only exhausting outrage.
Bars.
No nation, only a state of chaos. This is our historic moment of crisis and challenge. And unity is the path forward. And we must meet this moment as the United States of America. If we do that, I guarantee you we will not fail. We have never, ever, ever, ever failed in America when we've acted together. And so today, at this time, in this place, let's start afresh, all of us. Let's begin to listen to one another again, hear one another, see one another, show respect to one another. Politics doesn't have to be a raging fire, destroying everything in its path. Every disagreement doesn't have to be a cause for total war. And we must reject the culture in which facts themselves are manipulated and even manufactured. My fellow Americans, we have to be different than this. America has to be better than this. And I believe America is so much better than this. Just look around. Here we stand in the shadow of the Capitol Dome, as was mentioned earlier, completed amid the Civil War, when the Union itself was literally hanging in the balance. Yet we endured. We prevailed. Here we stand, looking out on the great mall where Dr. King spoke of his dream. Here we stand where 108 years ago, at another inaugural, thousands of protesters tried to block brave women marching for the right to vote. And today, we mark the swearing in of the first woman in American history elected to national office, Vice President Kamala Harris. Don't tell me things can't change. Here we stand across the Potomac from Arlington Cemetery, where heroes who gave the last full measure of devotion rest in eternal peace. And here we stand, just days after a riotous mob thought they could use violence to silence the will of the people, to stop the work of our democracy, to drive us from this sacred ground. It did not happen. It will never happen. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Not ever. To all those who supported our campaign, I'm humbled by the faith you've placed in us. To all those who did not support us, let me say this. Hear me out as we move forward. Take a measure of me and my heart. If you still disagree, so be it. That's democracy. That's America. The right to dissent peaceably within the guardrails of our republic is perhaps this nation's greatest strength. Yet hear me clearly. Disagreement must not lead to disunion. And I pledge this to you. I will be a president for all Americans. All Americans. And I promise you, I will fight as hard for those who did not support me as for those who did. Many centuries ago, St. Augustine, a saint of my church, wrote that a people was a multitude defined by the common objects of their love. Defined by the common objects of their love. What are the common objects we as Americans love that define us as Americans? I think we know. Opportunity, security, liberty, dignity, respect, honor, and yes, the truth. Recent weeks and months have taught us a painful lesson. There is truth and there are lies. Lies told for power and for profit. And each of us has a duty and a responsibility as citizens, as Americans, and especially as leaders who have pledged to honor our Constitution and protect our nation, to defend the truth and defeat the lies. Look, I understand that many of my fellow Americans view the future with fear and trepidation. I understand they worry about their jobs. I understand, like my dad, they lay at bed at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering, can I keep my health care? Can I pay my mortgage? Thinking about their families, about what comes next. I promise you, I get it. But the answer is not to turn inward, to retreat into competing factions,
Bars.
distrusting those who don't look like you, or worship the way you do, or don't get their news from the same sources you do. We must end this
Common sense, you can get
war
multiple
that
perspectives
pits
to news
red against
stories
blue,
in one place. So be sure to
rural
have
versus
common sense.
urban, or rural versus urban, conservative versus liberal. We can do this if we open our souls instead of hardening our hearts, if we show a little tolerance and humility, and if we're willing to stand in the other person's shoes, as my mom would say, just for a moment, stand in their shoes. Because here's the thing about life. There's no accounting for what fate will deal you. Some days, when you need a hand. There are other days when we're called to lend a hand. That's how it has to be. It's what we do for one another. And if we are this way, our country will be stronger, more prosperous, more ready for the future. And we can still disagree. My fellow Americans, in the work ahead of us, we're going to need each other. We need all our strength to persevere through this dark winter. We're entering what may be the toughest and deadliest period of the virus. We must set aside politics and finally face this pandemic as one nation. One nation. And I promise you this, as the Bible says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. We will get through this together. Together. Look, folks, all my colleagues I serve with in the House and the Senate up here, we all understand the world is watching all of us today. So here's my message to those beyond our borders. America has been tested, and we've come out stronger for it. We will repair our alliances and engage with the world once again, not to meet yesterday's challenges, but today's and tomorrow's challenges. And we'll lead not merely by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. We'll be a strong and trusted partner for peace, progress, and security. Look, you all know we've been through so much in this nation. And my first act as president, I'd like to ask you to join me in a moment of silent prayer. Remember all those who we lost in this past year to the pandemic. Those 400,000 fellow Americans, moms, dads, husbands, wives, sons, daughters, friends, neighbors, and coworkers. We'll honor them by becoming the people and the nation we know we can and should be. So I ask you, let's say a silent prayer for those who've lost their lives and those left behind, and for our country. Amen. Folks, This is a time of testing. We face an attack on our democracy and on truth, a raging virus, growing inequity, the sting of systemic racism, a climate in crisis, America's role in the world. Any one of these would be enough to challenge us in profound ways. But the fact is, we face them all at once, presenting this nation with one of the gravest responsibilities we've had. Now we're going to be tested. Are we going to step up, all of us? It's time for boldness, for there's so much to do. And this is certain. I promise you, we will be judged, you and I, by how we resolve these cascading crises of our era. We will rise to the occasion is the question. Will we master this rare and difficult hour? Will we meet our obligations and pass along a new and better world to our children? I believe we must. I'm sure you do as well. I believe we will. And when we do, we'll write the next great chapter in the history of the United States of America, the American story. A story that might sound something like a song that means a lot to me. It's called American Anthem. There's one verse that stands out, at least for me, and it goes like this. The work and prayers of century have brought us to this day. What shall be our legacy? What will our children say? Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. Let's us add our own work and prayers to the unfolding story of our great nation. If we do this, then when our days are through, our children and our children's children will say of us, they gave their best, they did their duty, they healed a broken land. My fellow Americans, I close the day where I began, with the sacred oath. Before God and all of you, I give you my word. I will always level with you. I will defend the Constitution. I'll defend our democracy. I'll defend America. And I'll give all of you, keep everything I do in your service, thinking not of power, but of possibilities, not of personal interest, but the public good. And together, we shall write an American story of hope, not fear, of unity, not division, of light, not darkness, a story of decency and dignity, love and healing, greatness and goodness. May this be the story that guides us, the story that inspires us, and the story that tells ages yet to come that we answered the call of history. We met the moment. Democracy and hope, truth and justice did not die in our watch, but thrived. That America secured liberty at home and stood once again as a beacon to the world. That is what we owe our forebears, one another, and generation to follow. So, with purpose and resolve, we turn to those tasks of our time, sustained by faith, driven by conviction, and devoted to one another and the country we love with all our hearts. May God bless America, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, America.
Woo! Wow.
There we have it. We are through with that speech. Afshan, what are your thoughts?
There are so many memeable, TikTokable moments in this speech. I mean, like, I swear he almost said, make America great again. But what he said is, make America once again a force for good, which is very close, I think, to Donald Trump's, and actually, if Trump was in the right mind, he might even sue Biden, which, maybe I'm putting ideas in his head now, for using.
Oddly enough, if there was a time where you needed that kind of rising from the ashes, make America great again, it's now. It's now that America has surpassed hundreds of thousands of deaths. Coronavirus seems like it's out of control. This is when you need that message. But halfway through that, we had a comment say hallelujah. I was a few seconds away from screaming out hallelujah, because some of the stuff he said there fit right into a church pulpit.
I thought
Some pastors should take notes, because that's some good stuff. That's some A-class church. There was a line he said where he said, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And I thought, well, what a difference. I mean, let's just do that for a minute before we bring on our American writer. How would you compare this to what we saw 4 years ago when Donald Trump spoke?
The amount of times that Biden said unity and said truth, I think contrasts Donald Trump's entire existence. And if I was if I was a drinker, then I would have played a drinking game. Pastor Joe Biden is exactly right, Torrin. That's exactly the vibes I got. There were a lot of amens. I know, Mike, you were dropping bars every so often, but that should have been amen. I think it would have probably been more appropriate to what Biden was saying. But I don't know, man. There was a lot of talk. He talked about how 108 years ago it was women that were marching and protesting, and now 108 years later, we've got our first female woman vice president, someone being sworn in, and I think that what he forgot or maybe missed was the fact that it's been 108 years. So Biden, I'm all for all of your unity and togetherness and bringing people together under this guise of truth and making America a force for good again, not great, but a force for good again. So who knows, man? Who knows?
I think you're right. One of the things that for me is so amazing to see is that, I mean, let's remember when Donald Trump won the last election, when he beat Hillary Clinton, it was a very slim margin. She won the popular vote, and he had Congress and he had the Senate. But it was only just a victory. Yeah, he spoke about how he would be a president for his side for the most part. Donald Trump doubled down. He righted up his base. He said, "This is our time to take America back." Cue all the rhetoric about America, my people, my people. He was very much, I would say, a partisan president. But here you see Joe Biden, who is in a much better state. Joe Biden inherits, let's not forget, Biden in the month, a Senate that's going to be Democrat controlled, and Mitch McConnell will become the Democratic majority leader. And also he has a Congress that's led by Nancy Pelosi, but again is majority Democrat. So Joe Biden he's in his bag right now. He can say, you know what, I'm just gonna undo the last 4 years of pain and suffering and really take it. But he doesn't say that. Instead, he doubles down and says, I'm still gonna be the president for everybody. That's why I tweeted not too long ago that he's a class act, because he has every right now to be like, I'm telling back the time. It's our turn. But he doesn't do that. And it's something you don't see in political figures.
No, he did though. He did. He kind of was like, I'm going to be here for unity. I'm here for all Americans, kind of. And he doesn't have to say, I'm going to do more than what Trump did. But that's in effect what he's saying is, I'm here for everyone. I'm here for every single person, even those people that didn't vote for me. I'm here for unity. The amount of times that he said unity, as that is his running ticket. Diversity. He mentioned race in there. So he's talking about all these things. He mentioned COVID, and the COVID deaths are not just. I think they're very key for him to mention them at this particular time when we know that it's probably Trump's policies and attitudes towards COVID that have led to such a massive spike in deaths in the States. So it's all indirect, passive aggressive subtweeting, as it were.
I don't think I would. I get you. I do see how one could read it like that. But for me, it's part and parcel of what makes Joe Biden so appealing at this time, is because he is literally the polar opposite of the last 4 years we've had. That speech was well crafted. He said lots of good things in there. I would describe that speech as a quintessential American speech, because it had all these Yeah, he had all this, he weaved the American dream into there. He inspired people. He spoke about kind of coming together. America, America thinks it's kind of the center of the world. And that speech we just had there was very different to the protectionism you saw under Trump, where Trump actually spoke about retreating from international agreements, putting out of the Paris Climate Accord, getting rid of NAFTA. We had a economic policy from Trump that was all about protectionism, and here we see Biden making a case that he wants to reach out again. He wants to rebuild, as he said in his own words, verbatim. He wants to recommit to allies. So I think it's good news for India. It's good news for Israel. It's good news for China, probably. He will be a president that will reach out to these different parties in an effort to really start rebuilding.
But colonization, empire was also a form of reaching out. And I think that, his statement of like, make America a force for good again. When has America been a force for good, which hasn't involved them inciting a war or colonizing or kind of taking over other countries? Like, when has that actually ever occurred? And it hasn't. So his idea of a force for good is to kind of use the power of America in the same way that the British Empire has worked, the same way that colonization has worked, to kind of take over again. That's what he sees as a force of good. So I'm not too convinced by this idea that he's going to do well. I think he's going to do different to what Trump did. I think Trump was dangerous, was damaging, and I think Biden is damaging in a different way. It's just about us being wary and careful about his attitudes, his policies coming forward, making sure that Kamala's policies coming forward are also not so pro-police.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Well, I want to get some of the viewers we have. What do you guys think? I mean, when you watch this, are you really, really kind of anticipating Biden coming in and switching things up, changing things, making things better? Do you share Afshan's view that actually America as a system has a problem? And so if you change the leader, well, the system's the problem. So having a new leader doesn't change anything. It's like throwing a coat of paint over something that's broken. It's still broken. It just looks a bit better. Is that your opinion, or do you actually think no, Biden's a welcome change? And I believe that all the rhetoric we heard in that speech are consistent with what we've seen of Biden's political career. And so I think to the best of his ability, he will try to build consensus. He will try to compromise, even with a Senate that's Democratic and a Congress that's Democratic. I think you'll still see Biden attempting to build bridges. Torrin says, to add another question to our viewers, do you think that Biden's just doing whatever populists want? Is he just saying everything? And Ashton, I want to ask you as well, don't you think this is also another issue? Because, someone said that the bar was very low for his speech, and maybe that is the case. But also, don't you think that people have put so much hope into Biden that they've almost forgotten that America is in the middle of the biggest health emergency it's ever had? And so what can Biden realistically do, especially as policy is concerned?
So just following on from that and the comment that came in just now, Biden's speech for me is the same as all these corporate organizations in June, July, putting a black square on their Instagram page, right? You've said it. You've talked about unity. You've talked about racial equality. What are you going to actually do? What is the action? And maybe it is that the bar is low. Trump screwed things up royally for everyone. So the only way we can go is up. So anything, if Biden messes up now, then he's truly, truly effed up. But yeah, for me, this is the black square on Instagram. There's nothing more. I didn't see any substance to it. It was all talk for me right now. But then, it's only been like 10 minutes since he's been sworn in.
Give him a chance. I mean, he's been president for 10 minutes, and you're like, it's all fake.
Or 24 hours to ban Muslims. So let's see what Biden can do. The clock is on, Biden. We're counting down and seeing what you can do.
Well, we're talking here about the future of America, and of course, we've got people who actually live in America who will have to inherit this future. So let's bring on Siobhan Starlin and get some of her thoughts on the inauguration, what she's just seen. Siobhan, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm glad that my internet's finally working. Thank God, praise him. So, first off, I would like to say, Regardless if Biden was your first choice, not a choice, wasn't even a forethought, just as, and whether you agree with his policies, don't agree with his policies, agreed with Kamala, don't agree with Kamala, I'm excited right now. If you didn't know, if you couldn't tell, I'm excited. And I just think, and though I have written many pieces about this, it's not going to happen overnight, right? Like you just said, Biden has been in office for 10 minutes. And a lot of the changes that you're going to see isn't going to happen overnight. However, what I will say is you have the power to make the changes that you want to see. You have the House and you have the Senate. So if you don't make the changes you want to see, you can't really say any excuses, but blame yourselves. So I'm excited. I thought that he gave a really nice speech. Just unifying or trying to unify a very divided country. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what is going to happen. And what's the future in store for America? Because right now it's really crazy. But it's so crazy. Like, I live actually in the capital of Illinois right now, and there is militia all over the streets. I was just coming back from the hospital downtown, and everywhere you turn, there's the National Guard. So I'm curious to see if he's actually going to unify the country and just to see where he goes.
Yeah. Afshan, were you going to ask a question?
No, I was just going to say, for everyone that's listening in, is there anything in specific you're looking forward to from Biden?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think it's, yeah, you've said that, Siobhan, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Are you also looking forward to the political temperature going down? Is that something you're interested? You're looking forward to? That's something Biden said in his speech. I think he said it in the campaign trail as well, that he wants to lower the temperature. He wants to, help Americans help Americans disagree, but not be disagreeable and stuff like that.
Right. That's true. But the thing is, it's out in the open now. And I think one thing, and I just written about this, I think one thing that's going to be difficult is, so for years, we were ignoring the racial climate, saying that, slavery isn't a thing anymore. We have the first Black president. Women are in office. Oh, it's so diverse. But truth of the matter is, these last 4 years, people weren't hiding their disdain, their disgust with race or racial inequality. It was blatant in the open. So if going back to normal means hiding that again, that's over and done with. Because at this moment in time, people are ready to catch these hands and ready to clap back. So I'm curious, be honest and be open with the fact that race in America is a real, actual thing, that we are not equal, and that there's some serious work to be handled for that. The temperature does need to go down, but be honest in, one, why that temperature has risen, and two, what are you really going to do? What policies are you going to implement to help not only white America, but Black America, Latina America, Indian America, come to a melting pot where we can agree to disagree?
No, I totally understand that, and I think many people will share the same sentiments. This idea that yes, we have a new president, but it's the same America. America hasn't changed. It's exactly the same America, and so the real work begins now. Of, well, what are your policy prescriptions? What needs to be done? What do you need to undo? What executive orders can you sign? That's one thing, that Joe Biden can literally do tonight, is start to sign some executive orders, undoing some of the work that Trump's done that he deems damaging. In slightly other news, I just wonder, we saw there just a few minutes ago when it was shown to us. We see at this inauguration, we saw Michelle Obama, who almost stole the show. What do you make of the whole ceremony of it? Because we had it's so kind of it's like a season finale, where they bring back all the different ex presidents. What are your thoughts on the whole ceremony of it and stuff we've been seeing on Twitter with Michelle Obama and her dress, or it looks like a cape thing? What's your thoughts on all of that?
Honestly, I think it's a beautiful sight to see. For me personally, one, I love Michelle Obama, so just seeing her, I think, because I was screaming the whole way through like this was a whole concert. So I'm like, oh my god, and I'm like, oh my god, my president! Oh no! So I was having a little fangirl moment, but it was nice to see not only just Barack and Michelle Obama, but even seeing George and Laura Bush, because that is honestly what the idea of American democracy is, that we can all come together. You're Republican, I'm Democrat, I'm progressive, what have you, to us come together to share a historic moment. And I really, although I cannot stand Pence, Mike Pence is not I can't stand him, but for him to come there to support America, because this is essentially what you're doing. You're celebrating America. For him to come down and for one of the first times while he's vice president, separate from his president, to come down to congratulate the new president and the new vice president shows a lot about his character. And you can say what you want about these people policy-wise, but at least you have character that you didn't see these last 4 years.
And that's what's important, though, isn't it? That he came without Trump, that Trump isn't here. And he's the first president in history to not be there at the inauguration of the next president. So I think that's interesting. It just goes to show that maybe Trump wasn't presidential at all in any way, shape, or form. He was a businessman who was like, got better things to do on my corporate Twitter account.
We must be honest. It's really, really hard. I kind of feel sorry for Trump somewhat, because it's one of those. It strikes me, and I'm going to make a kind of childish point here, but I think it's quite interesting. It strikes me as one of those. When there's a party that you said you're not going to based on principle, but you really want to be at the party, and you're hoping that someone messages you and just says, "Come on," and you're like, "All right, then." That's a really, really childish commentary, but that's how I think about the situation. We have a question there from Torrin that says, Siobhan, do you think Michelle Obama would ever run? Now, she's already addressed this, of course, but do you think she would ever run for president herself?
No, I really do not think that she would ever run, because she has stated numerous amount of times in her book, President Obama stated in his book, she didn't like politics, and their marriage was ended based off of politics. So I would love to see her win. I think that she would be a fabulous candidate, but I don't think that because she's unapologetically who she is. And honestly, I don't know if people are so ready, especially from a Black woman, to be unapologetically who she is. Because I know how we have talked about Kamala playing being Black when she chooses to be Black, being South Indian, South Asian when she chooses to be, picking and choosing who she is. But with Michelle Obama, she was unapologetically who she is, and I don't know if she wants to be in a bubble like that. I think that for her to effectively make change is pretty much what she's doing right now, being one of the most influential people of our time. So I think that will she win? I think she'll go further than Kamala Harris did.
I'm not sure I agree with you there. I don't think on what you said, I agree with in terms of whether she would run. They say politics is showbiz for ugly people, right? And Michelle Obama isn't ugly and already is pretty popular. So why you would throw all of that away to have one side hate you, one side love you, and go through all the kind of just politics is very sully, and it's very hard to come out of politics and still be loved on both sides and be a great figure. The last president that probably was that is Jimmy Carter, but then folks would say he wasn't a very good president, you know. So there you go. In terms of whether she would be great or not, I mean, I don't think she would be, mainly because she has no real national stage experience when it comes to kind of lawmaking. I think people just think if you're accomplished and smart, then you should be president, or obviously because we really glamorize the position. I mean, there's people talking about celebrities like Dwayne The Rock Johnson running for presidency, which is just madness. But some people actually, or people saying Oprah should run, and you go, maybe they're more interested in. Oh, there he is. There's the new president. Look at him. He's probably going to sleep. No, what's the time? It might be.
He needs his afternoon nap.
He needs a nap. He's like, this was lovely, guys, but I'm going to need to have a nap.
Oh.
And there's your future president. She's probably scheming her way already, planning.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. You'll be a fool not to.
Of course. And that's the first, I think it's called the second first gentleman, something like that. That's what they're calling Doug, who was a Hollywood lawyer. Sorry. Come again?
Why is he not the first man?
Because that would be the president. So that would be the husband of a female president.
The second man. Just the second man. Or the second boy.
I think it's called the second man. Yeah, something like that. But who knows? Well, folks, it's been great. So again, Afshan?
I said the first man was Adam.
Oh, right. Yeah. To keep in line with it, with everyone's wearing these kind of stormtroopery dresses today. There was obviously a memo going by because J-Lo, they're waving at us, folks. They're waving at us. You remember J-Lo also wore a kind of stormtrooper-esque dress too. Well, folks, before we sign out, because we have been live now for 1 hour and we want to make these lives nice and short. Before we go, if you're watching, ensure you subscribed, ensure you've turned on your notifications so you're first to find out when we go live again. But folks, I just want to get your closing remarks. You know, how would you sum up the last 4 years and what this moment means to you? And a couple of words.
I am exhausted, and I think the next 4 years are going to be even more exhausting.
It's only been 4 years. Oh, Jesus. I'm just curious on what is going to happen because, like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. Tomorrow is another day, another fight. Yeah.
Keep going. Well, I for one, I'm super, super excited because, you know, we can go back to politics being for nerds, and being for people who really want to get into the meat of policy and not just, you know, this kind of glamorization. And you know what it is? We can all take a break from Twitter and take a break from just obsessing over the president every day and every night. So I'm looking forward to a bit of a rest. I think all journalists will rest easy tonight, knowing that
maybe we can focus on
want to do something crazy. Sorry, say again.
Maybe we can focus on the UK now.
I think the UK.
All that's going on here. Yeah.
It's way more fun to look at America and laugh at America.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just being a laughing stock. And like I said, however, hopefully the next 4 years we are not. So yay! We can go back looking at it, like you said, the UK.
Well, it's been good, folks. We hope to catch you on another live stream soon. Be sure, if you're interested in being part of our growing family, to go and join .tcsnetwork.co.uk, and that way you can join our community, get updates, get emails, get news about all sorts of fun and interesting things we're doing. Thank you to Siobhan for joining us as well. That's it from me. Afshan, over to you.
Yeah, this has been really great and really exciting. I hope to see all of you on our usual time. Same place though. Next week we've been empty and Lady Common Sense Live. Signing out.